You've been following this extremely closely from the very beginning. It's unclear to know where we are. We count the number of civilian deaths, and actually, are we closer to a hostage release?
Well, I think we can talk about this as another kind of tipping point in what's been happening since the October 7th attacks on Israel. Right now, the Israeli military is pushing up towards the Egyptian border in this offensive, and they're planning to enter the southern city of Rafah, which is close to Egypt, and that's where about 1 million civilians are sheltering, and where they've been moving through the Gaza Strip since this offensive started. So I think there's now Israel wants to finish the military operation. Its aim is to completely destroy Hamas in Gaza, and it says that there are battalions that are in Rafah that they need to target and they need to eliminate as part of this. But this is an area where all the civilians are. There's increasing pressure on Israel to slow this, to make sure it protects civilian lives, and also to enter into these ceasefire talks and try to come up with an understanding that means that these hostilities can at least pause to get civilians out.
But there was a big report, I think, from Amnesty International. There was a big report from also the UN. The U.S. seems to be telling Israel to temper down the way in which they pull out these attacks. Are they listening?
The US and Israel would say that it has been trying to protect civilian lives. The US would say it is having influence. The view from the rest of the region is very different. You've had remarks by Jordan's king. You've had other countries in the region saying that, even Biden himself saying that the military offensive has gone over the top. Netanyahu said he didn't understand what Biden meant by those comments. So I think you are seeing real frictions between the US and its main ally in the Middle East right now.
But how problematic is it for the U.S.? If they want Prime Minister Netanyahu to stop civilian casualties, do they actually pull aid out of Israel, and would that make a difference?
And that's one thing that some critics of what's been happening have been saying is an option. Right now what we're seeing is that Israel has moved and it's into its last phase of its offensive in Gaza with this end goal, and it's pushing forward. And it's really very difficult right now to. I think that's why the pressure has really increased on these ceasefire talks, and why we're seeing increasing leaks about progress. I think the different sides would talk about progress or not. It's all being mediated by Qatar and Egypt. It's very delicate negotiations happening right now. They have had success in the past, where they have had a pause of a certain period of time. But right now, I think the stakes are raised on all sides, which is why this particular round is especially difficult.
So would Egypt or other bordering countries actually take some civilians?
It's been really difficult. There have been suggestions that, Egypt should take in large numbers of Palestinians, but Egypt completely rejects this. It says it's thinking about its own security, its own, peace agreement with Israel, and also that if they do this, then what happens to this idea of a Palestinian state in the future? So I think this idea, is the longer-term thing that everyone is looking at. In some ways, this is a tipping point into disaster, but others might argue it could actually mean that this is an opportunity to actually try to head towards a Palestinian state. But it just doesn't look like the US and others have the leverage to do that right now.